I've got drawers on camera. Yeah, guys, I want to talk about what I call stepping stones. So I'm putting out that vibration to connect with the soul family. Let's see who tunes in. Yeah, because it's not about telling people you're going live. Whoever's paying attention, they'll feel the vibration when I'm going live and they will tune in. If they don't, they will come online and see there's a new video uploaded. So it's a win-win, do you get me? And yeah, I've been gone for a minute, just taking a time out like we all should do. I hope you guys miss, man. I hope you miss me, man. I've been taking a big time out to get myself recalibrated, find back my equilibrium and stuff like that. But I thought I'm not going to leave my tribe. You guys on YouTube, you're my tribe, do you get me? So even if I'm hibernating, I'm always going to come and put a little something out to keep you guys research current, to keep you in the loop, you know? So give it 2 minutes, yeah, and then I'm going to jump into this, what I call the relevance of the biblical doctrine or the Hebrew doctrine. But on here, I've called it lost knowledge and the stepping stones. And I'll explain the difference, yeah? But yeah, basically, I know a lot of time I talk from a historical standpoint. I don't really talk about, you know, like self-improvement, people that talk about meditation and shadow work. And what I'm trying to say is that should be our focus, that's correct. But there's other teachers than myself who could give you better information when it comes to shedding layers and when it comes to shadow work and certain spiritual practices. I'm only touching the surface. Yeah, my expertise is more to do with science, metaphysics, history, and I get that. And I don't want you to think that I'm just stuck in history, because a lot of the stuff I like to talk about is current events to do with the geopolitical environment and stuff. But I just wanted to say that there's other people out there that could give you more insight, especially some of these sisters who are giving us some fantastic information when it comes to working on ourselves. I find that the divine feminine is more on the money than like the sacred masculine. I find that there's more sister teachers that I'm connecting with what they're saying more than male teachers. The male teachers, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of them is just missing the mark with me. Like, I'll listen to them and I won't be connected to that message. Is a lot of ego. There's a lot of I don't know, whatever it is. When I'm listening to some of these sisters like Dr. Mumbi and stuff, they're hitting me in various different places, man. When it comes to, you know, like being better within yourself. So yeah, I just wanted to say that here I'm going to focus on the relevance of the biblical doctrine, because I think that when it comes to the Egypt thing, a lot of people are out of context. They don't understand how Kemet and the old world information relates to Abrahamic faiths and the scriptures and stuff, because a lot of people fail to see that it came a point where one type of knowledge or information or wisdom was erased from the planet, yeah, and we went into another form of knowledge. So both are relevant in context when you're looking at them in context. And even for the Egypt thing, a lot of us go to the Kemetian doctrine and completely throw away Abrahamism. Now, I'm not telling you to embrace Abrahamism, like to embrace it, but you shouldn't throw it all away and not do a thorough study of all of the teachings of those schools, what I call stepping stones. So you're talking about Christianity, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam in that order. There and all the subcategories of it, whether you're talking about Rasta, Mooric Science Temple, Nation of Islam, Sufi, whatever. It's all, you understand? And it's all relevant for us to piecing back together our real information, yeah? So that's what this discussion is going to be about. Two of you are tuned in. Respect for tuning in. Did someone say something? I did. Oh, greetings to Celestial Samurai, Hub H, and Mahogany X. Bless up, family. So yeah, Hupaneteru Meninu Chayu Kawuna Lulbihu, he, she, the deities who nothing exists except by way of the Mother, Father, Creator, Spirit. So the old world knowledge, it came to a point. You see, like when you go onto these other YouTube content creators, especially in the UFO circles, and they like to speak about, was there a pre-Adamic or pre-flood civilization, high technology civilization that was here before Adam and Eve and blah, blah, blah. You're going to hear them always talking about this, especially the Mzungu. And they speak about it like they have completely no idea who this pre-flood civilization, pre-Adamic, if you like, civilization was. They go on like it's a total enigma, it's a total mystery, when all the evidence shows that this same super civilization that we've told you about in Treasures in the Sand, which is Old Man Kush, the same Kush that is referred to as the first nation spoken about in their Bible. So you can go back to Genesis chapter 2, verses 11 through to 15. And the first nation on earth that's mentioned in the Bible is Kush. That Kush is not the same Kush as Egypt. When we think about Egypt with King Tut and Akhenaten and Nefertiti, that Egypt is way later. This old man Kush that is spoken about in Genesis 2 is referring to the pre-Adamic, pre-diluvial, super civilization. And notice I put the word super before civilization. Why I say super is because they mapped out the world before history began. They already reached the level of technology that when the floods came and the world was reset, we regressed. Like we dropped from this high state of knowledge way back down to this like basic state. So again, we've given you lives where we've spoken about the dumbing downs and how there were certain dumbing downs of human beings, yeah, for whatever purpose, whether it was a spell being cast by Enki and certain archons, whether it was a flood and people got wiped and there was only a certain set of people left with a certain knowledge. The point that we're making is that it comes to a time more than once in history where information of high technology and civilization is wiped out. Okay, so when we're speaking about the Bible and Old Man Kush and the flood, all of the information that you see there credit to Egypt and the Olmecs, the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Sumerians, Chaldeans, all of that information did not originate with them. So you will hear Egyptologists saying that oh, the Egyptians didn't build the pyramids. You hear certain ones of these independents saying that, oh, it wasn't the Egyptians that built the pyramids. Somebody else built it, whether it was aliens or whoever, and the Egyptians came in and inherited them sites. Just like they say about the Mayans with Chichen Itza or Machu Picchu or Sacsayhuaman or Tiahuanaco or Tenochtitlan. Any one of them sites, they say, okay, these sites are so old, the people that we found there, they didn't necessarily build them, yeah? They inherited them sites. They especially use that story when it comes to black people's sites, because one, they won't admit that all of them civilizations came out of a super civilization, which was called Kush. And it don't matter if it's the Greeks, the Romans, the Babylonians, the Egyptians themselves, the Olmecs, all recorded in their own tradition, in their story, the truth about who they are and where they came from. Okay, so when the flood came, a lot of that information got wiped. Yeah, it got wiped out. Yeah, and then as we've spoken about before, we won't go into the details again, we had to build back up to a high state of civilization and technology once again. Do you understand? But it happened again. And when it happened again, this was a deliberate dumbing down that was done by the Anunnaki when they wanted to dumb humans down one side of the agenda so they could control us easier without us being so stubborn and being so unruly and not listening and disobeying and shit. Because we long learned how to disobey and how to sin. Because some of us weren't afraid. Do you understand? Just like now, how there's a mass of people afraid, and then some of us like me and you, we're not afraid. We're going to defy that shit. So they wanted to dumb humans down to make it less likely that they're going to have humans like me and you who are going to say, well, no, I don't want to go down here and do this. I want to do this. You understand what I'm saying? When it came to the time of the fall of Egypt, when we're talking now around the 25th dynasty, the most famous Nesu of that time being Taharqa himself, who is written into the second book of Kings. I think it's chapter 19, verse 9. And it talks about Taharqa being the right arm of God. When in 666 BC, around that time, some say 664, I say 666 because it represents the devil. So let me use that, yeah? When Taharqa fell and the Kushite Empire fell in the old world, because up to that point, we was the military dominant power in the ancient world. Like, we had the last say, basically. And now there was a new power on the horizon. They had a few of them on the horizon, but the main one was Assyria. And they were rough, warlike Neanderthal people who had taken over our Assyrian brothers, because we had black Syrians. They had to run out of Syria, and now Syria's been overtaken by this Neanderthal, who they're calling the Neo-Assyrians, and now they've become this warlike nation, and they're coming down to war with us. So when they finally defeated us after 100 years of trying to crack down into Egypt, they was trying this shit for 100 years, and we kept them out for 100 years under the 25th dynasty from Suten Alara, who was the first one, and then his son was Kashta, or you could say Kush. You understand? And then you get like Shabaka and Shabataka, and you get Pi and Shabaka and Shabataka and Taharqa and Tenatamun. This is the 25th dynasty that comes from the Sudan, and they took over Egypt, yeah, which Treasures in the Sand will tell you. I shouldn't say took over, they won back Egypt from these Muzungu and brought back the culture and took us back into a period of Renaissance, which lasted 100 years, kept about 100 years. They stuck it in the Bible in the second book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 9. What I'm saying, once we fell in 666 and they kidnapped Taharqa's family and he had to retreat back to the south, this is when certain narratives began to be changed. When I say certain narratives began to be changed, remember, we're not the military power no more in the region. So basically the Muzungu, under the name of Assyrians who have took over, they've started changing certain stories and changing certain narratives, okay? Because up until that point, we're always fighting to control our narratives, because whoever wins, the victor, history is going to be written by the victor. So if these people try and run up in our lands and conquer us, if they're victorious, they're going to change the narrative. They're going to change the narrative to control it, erase our true history and give us a false narrative. So this is what begun the Serapis Cult, yeah? The Serapis Cult, which was running from the fall of Taharqa, which is like 666 BC, some say 664 BC, yeah? All the way down to 333 BC, yeah? So after them, Assyrians have run this shit for 300 plus years. Now they meet their nemesis, who is Alexander the Greek in them. You understand? So now the black man loses to the brown man, and the brown man loses to the Muzungu man. So when the Muzungu man comes in now, he refines the narrative further. Remember, for the last 300 years since 666 BC, these Assyrian Muzungu, they've been dabbling and changing the narrative anyway, and distorting a lot of the information and hiding a lot of the shit. Now, for another 300 years, you're going to get an even worse dude, Alexander the Greek, the Macedonians in them. And now they take this distorted information from the Assyrian and distort it even further, start scribbling even more. Now Serapis, yeah, by the time you get to the Roman Empire, because remember, Greeks and Romans are kind of the same. That's why we say Greco-Roman. So by the time it starts with Serapis on this Greek shit, and then it ends with Jesus on this Roman shit. Like, they refined that military weapon, scribbled up our doctrine, yeah, used the pieces that they thought, oh, we like that. That's nice. I like how that works. Yo, Father, Son, Trinity. But we'll just take out the woman and put in a Holy Ghost. But I like that. We'll keep that bit there. Yeah, yo, I like this virgin birth stuff. We'll keep that. You know what? We're taking out this stuff here. We're taking out that Anunnaki stuff. We don't want that. You understand? They started dabbling and chopping and changing up the information. Okay? Because when you really study the history of Judaism and the Jews and stuff, they skip from the Old Testament right into the Jesus shit. without really explaining the Maccabees and how the Maccabees wasn't no turn the other cheek people, no bitch ass Israelite Hebrews who was turning the cheek and allowing these Romans and Greeks to just run up in there and take their shit. Because you got to remember, that's us. Also, it's not just like you see when Egypt fell, a lot of us left Egypt for other places in Africa, but a lot of us also left Egypt and the Horn of Africa and went into the Levant, yeah, and went into the Middle East like Arabia and shit. A lot of us like left, yeah. So what I'm saying is, in the time of the Maccabees, those who chose to stay, yeah, in Jerusalem, yeah, they were trying to salvage a certain time. They were trying to salvage the truth of our information that's to do with Egypt and the Israelites, because you got to remember, there's no such thing as the Middle East. It's all Africa. It's an African story, whether you're talking about Egypt, whether you're talking about Israel, whether you're talking about Arabia, whether you're talking about Sumeria, all the way up to Iran. That's Africa. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're just giving you these names, talking about Middle East and all these different. That's bullshit. Do you understand? So at that time, we were trying to salvage our story. We were hiding our story. We had already had developed mystery schools or secret societies where we could hide information since the reign of Tutmos III, which was in the 1500s BC. That's when these mystery schools started for us. When these Mzungu man started coming, we have to like archive our information and our truth and our history and our story, because the enemy is going to come and destroy it, and he's going to give us a false narrative. And especially after this shit hits peak and we get to the end of days, our people are going to need to know their story, because in order to survive, we're going to have to be made to forget. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because they were killing people for what you knew. If they knew you knew the old ways and the old teachings, and you understood the old texts, and you could read the old languages, and you could see through all this Roman, Greco-Roman bullshit, then it's more likely they're trying to come and kill you. To them, you're a heretic, which means you're a threat. Just like now, when they're calling us conspiracy theorists, yeah? It's the same business we're dealing with, yeah? You're a threat, because if people hold on to what you're saying, like Galileo, yeah, or Copernicus, yo, the Earth's not the middle of the solar system, the sun is, yeah. If people start testing that against what the church is saying, they're gonna say, hold on, the church is bullshit. This guy's for real, and then it's gonna lead to a paradigm shift. So they're scared of that type of shit there. Back in the day, we already had that with the Maccabees and certain different, if you want to say, prophets. But the Maccabees was a family of prophets, warrior priests, who came up under their father Matthias, who fought off the Roman invasion of Jerusalem and sanctified the temple and took out all the impurities out of the temple and shit. They are not putting this in the Bible. So in order for you to read the story of the Maccabees, you're going to have to get what's called a Maccabees Bible or an Apocrypha Bible. So that means most Bibles have got 66 books in it, but the Jewish Bible has got 6 extra books, which is called Apocrypha. Do you understand? It says here with Apocrypha, or they call it the Maccabees Bible or the Jewish Bible. But hear what I just said: 66 books in the normal Bible, and they took out 6 books. That's 666. 66 books and 6 extra books in that Bible. 666. So they know what they're doing. They don't want you to have these stories, because that was a military family who were warrior priests coming from their father Matthias, who slew the first Roman who came there chatting shit. Yeah. So they was making this military weapon, Serapis Jesus, distorting the information and coming out on this colonial thing. And remember that this information that they were dealing with has truth. It's built on the truth. It's built on our truth. They're just twisting it and distorting it so they can use it as a tool of mind control. They've got smart now. We've made them too smart. Yeah, so a lot of us left where we was when the cave dwellers came out the mountains. Even when you talk about the Trojan War and the story of the Trojans and King Brutus and the founding of Britain in the 1100s BC, yeah, the same with Hannibal or Carthage. All of these are military powers. The Trojan, King Brutus, the Trojans were King Brutus or Prince Brutus, because he was a prince while Troy was running. He became king when he came to and founded England. You understand? So the Trojans, that was a military power for us. the Carthaginians, yeah, Hannibal and them. That was a military power for us. When Hannibal fell, here we go with changing the narrative again, because there's no one to check people that are going to come into power and want to change shit and change the truth into these falsehoods to support their culture or their conquest or whatever. Okay, Hannibal and them was like the first and second Punic Wars. I think that was in 186 BC, if my memory serves me correct. But look into these things that I'm giving you here, because they all tie history together and tie it to the now, to happenings, what things are what going on now. Yeah, and Hannibal of Carthage goes back to the story of, one, the Phoenicians were black people who came out of Ethiopia and lived in where we call Israel and Lebanon and Syria and all of them places today. The first group of people that lived there, that call themselves Assyrians or Ashurians from Ashur, was black Ethiopian people. That's why when scholars went and dug up these Phoenician places like the city of Tyre and shit, the port city, all the nobles of the Phoenicians were woolly-haired, large-nosed Ethiopians. All the rulers, governors, do you understand? The ruling class was Cushites. They can't get away from it. When these Muzungu came out the mountains and stuff, the Altai mountains of Turkey and shit, and the Caucasus mountains, and came around the Black Sea and became that version of Iran, do you understand? Obviously, they pushed us back out of these regions, and we had to run back down into the bottleneck of the Nile Valley, coming back into Kemet and Ethiopia and Arabia and the Sinai and shit, as to how you get places like Yemen today with all them black people that's pushed up in the south and shit. It's the same story with the Indus Valley. If you go there, all the dark-skinned people are to the south. Like you go to South India and Bangladesh and all the islands, you'll find blacker and blacker and blacker people who get pushed down south. Same story. You understand? So they was making this military weapon, Serapis Jesus, which consisted of all of our Messiah stories and all of our information twisted up into this soup, into this soup that is like appealing, because it's got all of these glitter and glamour stories in it. Like, yo, it's like crack. It's like religious crack, like spiritual crack, put it that way, yeah? But families like the Maccabees, don't let them think that we just took it lying down. We fought all the way along, not just in slavery. We fought all the way up before slavery and everything. And in most cases, we won them. When it came to physical warfare, we won them. The only reason shit played out like how it is now is because the world had rules. Even if you went to war, you're a king and I'm a king, or you're a queen and I'm a king. Yeah, there's certain rules I have to follow if I'm going to attack your country. First of all, I have to announce it to you, just like today. You have to declare war. America can't just get up today and bomb Cuba tomorrow. The world will go mad. NATO, UN, yeah, there's certain laws, there's rules of engagement, rules of war. So if you study the history of the Muzungu, even when you go back to like battles like the Battle of Kadesh, they broke all the rules. They don't respect none of our rules. So in order to beat us, they had to start breaking the rules. So go back to the Battle of Kadesh, one of the most famous legendary battles recorded in history, with Pharaoh Ramisu, yeah? Ursa Ma'atra Setepenra, yeah? Ramesses II, as we call him in history. And when he went to war with the Hittites, they never told him they were going to war with him. They tried to lead him into some trap and trick him in that. He's wrote it on his stele. If you read the stele of Ramesses, what he wrote about the Battle of Kadesh, he said, yo, if it weren't for the god Ammon, I would have died. I was surrounded by like 1,000 men. My army had left me in that. Yeah, so they didn't respect the rules of engagement. They started dealing with the deception thing, with the trickster thing. Coming smiling, with shake your hand. You know how the Muzungu roll. And they had to do it like that. Yeah. But what I said about the Phoenicians, the last wing of the Phoenician Empire before the Phoenicians fell. Yeah, because the Phoenicians started mixing out. And it's through the Phoenicians that the Muzungu came into our family. Because when we went into the Levant, we started mixing with certain Asiatics and stuff. And so we started bringing in these recessive fucking genes. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, what I was going to say there? Yeah, the last wing, strong wing of the Phoenicians. Because remember the Phoenicians, why they moved out of Ethiopia and stayed there on that port city of Tyre in the Mediterranean, is because they were the masters of trade. Their whole thing was trade. Yo, let's take these ships and take these resources here, because these men need it here. So they made the like commerce with ships and shit. So Phoenicia, before any Greece and the Argonauts, before Vikings was sailing in ships, they never knew nothing about no ship. Boat technology came from the Nile Valley and came from the Mao Foundation in the Sahara, which was us black people. We mastered boat technology. So as Phoenicians, we stayed on boats and we was trading and discovering new lands and all of that type of shit. Do you see what I'm saying? But if you study the Phoenicians, the last wing of the Phoenician, because the Phoenicians came all the way to Britain and went all the way to America and shit. Don't get it twisted. We went everywhere. Yeah. But the last stronghold was a place called Carthage, which is linked to Hannibal. So Carthage was where Tunisia is today. Around Tunisia and Libya and shit was where Carthage was. And Carthage was earlier than Rome. So Carthage was bossing that part of the Mediterranean. You're talking Sicily, Italy, Greece, all of these fucking lands were part of the Phoenician Empire. So that was part of Carthage, bossed them places. And if you watch, I've told you before about a film called True Romance, where they let it off in that film. Mafia thing I'm talking about. Some Sicilian mafia come for these Italian geezers now, and they want to know where his son is. But his son, the dad's not telling these Sicilian mafia where his son is. So they've got the dad tied up on a chair ready to do the dad. So they tell, the dad says, listen, he's already made up his mind, bastard, they're going to kill me. I'm not telling them where my son is. So if you hear what the dad tells this Sicilian mafia boss in True Romance, it's going into what I'm telling you here about the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians who was ruling fucking all of that region of the Mediterranean. And then it resulted in Rome and Carthage going to fucking war twice. The first is called the First Punic War, and the second is called the Second Punic War. And most of us black people don't know nothing about this shit. We think our history is just like Africa. Or if we're in America, we think, okay, we're not African. So our history is just everything that happened in America, that's it. We don't give a fuck about black people. As far as we're concerned, black, but all of us go back to this same root, this super civilization of Kush that left Kush and mapped out this whole fucking, I'm not going to say globe, this whole realm before records began. Latitude, longitude, the whole shit. So we was everywhere. We was on all of the continents. You understand? Hannibal and the First and Second Punic Wars, because remember, Hamilcar, his father, and Hannibal are from the legendary Barca family, which is a branch of Numidians. And Mzungu tried to argue for a long time. Greetings, Empress Lotus. Mzungu tried to argue for a long time. Oh, that Hannibal weren't black. People just gossiping and rare. Until they fucked around and found coins with this nigga's face on there on one side and the elephants, his legendary elephants, on the other side, proving that this was a nappy-headed, what they call snub-nosed, big-lit Negro, yeah? Hannibal, yeah? So after the First Punic War, because we lost, Carthage lost to Rome in the First Punic War. I think it was under Hannibal's father, Hamilcar, yeah? After that first war, Rome took Sicily and took Italy. So Italy and Sicily started with black people. When you're speaking about Etruscans and Etrocretians and stuff, they're the real people who were responsible for Greek culture and Roman culture, not Hellenics, not Dorians, not Ionians, none of them bastards. We're talking Garamantes, Pelasgians, Nilotic Africans, Phoenicians, Carthaginians, all black people. And the proof is in the pudding. If you dig up Greece or dig up Rome or dig up Tunisia, you'll find all the evidence for all of this shit we're talking about here. And these are the receipts that we're giving you in Treasures in the Sand. And that was in the Second Punic War, either the first or second. It was around about the time 186 BCE. You understand? Where Hannibal nearly fucking mashed up Rome, man. You can read all about the story in Treasures in the Sun. I'm not going to give it away for those who haven't researched it for themselves. It's better than a film. It will keep, if you get into that story, you'll be like, yo, how come this ain't a film, man? This shit's some legendary shit. This shit should have been in a like Hollywood movie already, man. The stuff that Hannibal did, yeah? But with the fall of Carthage, again, what we witness is the military might of that region, which is under a black people, is now gone. So now after Hannibal, there's nothing to stop these Mzungu from coming down into Alkebulan or Africa, from coming down into our shit and further enforcing, putting his tentacles into our stuff. Because before that, we kept them out under Hannibal and stuff. They had to think twice. Or in the 25th dynasty under Taharqa and them kind of man, they had to think twice. They can't just do what they like. But as soon as they took out these military powers that are like watchmen, then they can now falsify the narrative. So it happened again after the fall of Hannibal and Hamilcar Barca. And remember, this was one of the greatest military generals of all time, to the point where the US Army and the UK Army, they still use tactics from Hannibal to this day, just like they do with Shaka Zulu, just like they do with Tutmosis the Third. And notice these greatest war generals, they're always black people. They tell you all this stuff about Alexander the Greek, but you ain't never heard no military people saying, yeah, we use Alexander the Greek's tactics today, you know, when we're fighting wars. Nah, the only names you hear that they still use them tactics today is based on who I'm telling you here. Hamilcar and Hannibal Barca, from the famous Barca family of Numidian Africans. Fucking Ramesses II, the Great, you understand, from the 19th dynasty of Kemet. Yeah, who else? Taharqa, yeah, the greatest pharaoh of the 25th dynasty. Shaka Zulu, Nzinga, even empresses like Nzinga and Amina, they still use their tactics today in terms of war, when they're doing their war. But once their military power fell by 186 BCE, after the First and Second Punic Wars, now they can just make up this false story and go around the world and say, you know what, now we need to remove their story. They're defeated. They have no more military power. We ain't got to worry about no one. So by the time you get to 325 AD, you know what happens with Constantine now. We're going to roll out on some military shit and sweep through the indigenous world and just smash shit down. Hide that. Chop that nose off. Bury that bastard. Yeah. Put this up. Put this Greek statue up. All of them Greek shits, them statues that you ever see, them Greeks and stuff, them shits is new. Them shits ain't even old. Because the ones that they put up around their time, them shits fell down. Them shits fell down, there's nothing left. So what they do is make them now. I'm talking about like 20th century and stuff. Okay, make some statues, yeah. And we'll make it and we'll put it around the Pantheon in Greece. And we'll claim that that shit's been like that for 2,000 years. No, it ain't. The only shit place where shit's still standing up is where black people have been, yeah? Where anything that they tried to say, they had to make that like modern, to try and imitate what we did thousands of years ago. Don't take the hype. But anyway, in their time, they started ripping down all this shit under the military conquest of, first it happened under Alexander the Greek, and then they revamped it and did it again under Constantine. So one was in 333 BC, and one was in 325 AD, which is basically the same thing on different sides of the timeline. One's BC, one's AD. 333 BC, 325 AD. So they've ramped up this thing. Do you understand? And now they're coming on this military conquest under this Roman shit, and they opposing everyone and they replacing your shit. And the only place they can do that, see, they don't tell you this in school. I tell you it in Treasures in the Sand. What they don't tell you is that the Romans came to a fucking immovable object or an unstoppable force. That is Meroe or Tarseti or Ethiopia. And there weren't no kings running it then. It was the women that kicked their ass. I said, hold on, no. We don't care if you're Rome or whoever, yeah? This is Tarseti, we sovereign. We don't give a shit about no Rome. Remember, at that time, Rome hadn't lost no war. If Rome's coming to your door's getting kicked off, rude boy. They're coming, they're pillaging your whole nation. They're licking it down. So now they've come, they've tried to steal the gold. They tried to go to the quarries that are Nubian Kushite quarries. And the Kendakis had to send man up there and stop them till it comes to a big war, and the Romans got their ass kicked, and they had to turn around and recognize our sovereignty and run off. So they're not going to tell you that in the school books, that some of our sisters were the greatest military leaders in our history, not Ramesses, not Thutmose, not Taharqa, not Hannibal, but people like Kendake Amunishiketo, who kicked the Romans' ass. People like Kendake Aminiris, who kicked the Romans' ass. Do you understand? Here we're talking 40 BC go down to 10 BC. where we kicked their ass and we became the most richest nation in that time of the ancient world. Forget about Egypt, how we was in Egypt. Start researching Merowe. How was this? Is that Egypt's gone? Egypt's fell, mate. That's dead. That's been dead since like 666 BC. And then it was killed again in 333 BC. That's long gone. Now we're in another part of our history. And this is what people don't get. They just want to stay on the Kemet thing. And they don't come up and bring it up to date. So after Kemet, we became Napata. And then Napata fell. And then after Napata, we became Merowe. Do you understand? And then Merowe fell. And then the power went to Ghana. The Ghana Empire, the Gold Empire. And then when Ghana fell, we became the Mali Empire. And then when Mali fell, we became the Songhai Empire. And then when the Songhai Empire fell, we became the Moroccan Empire. Do you understand? But some of us are stuck in Israel. Like, hold on. We're stuck in like 2000 BC. We're not up to date. We've not seen why this Bible is relevant. Because what I'm telling you is, in the time of Merowe, we switched over from one type of knowledge to another type of knowledge. I'm going to tell you how. In Merowe, the ruling class of Kushite black people, which was the Kushite A group, so you're talking Oromo tribes and shit, yeah, they were conquered not by Mzungu, but by another different tribe of Africans who we call Axum, the Ethiopia of today, that type part of Ethiopia. And the Axumites and the Meroans didn't like each other. And so when Merowe was dying and on its last legs because it overused all its resources and all that shit there, the Axumites thought, hold on, we don't even like these people who still in them old school practices and shit. We only got one God and shit. Let's go over there and kick their ass. So Axum came and fucked up Merowe and smashed it up. Do you understand? And Axum was all about Abrahamism on the Israelite thing. So Axum gave you people like the Falashim or the Falasha Jews, which is real black Israelites. None of that, not Ashkenazim or Sephardic Jews, none of that Hasidic shit. I'm talking about real black tribes like the Igbo, Yorubas, Lembe people, Falasha people, real black African people who have their beliefs and their doctrine is Israelite shit. They pray to Yahuwah or Yahweh, do you understand? And they believe all that shit about Yeshua. That's them. That was us, not no church or no Greece or no Rome. They learned that shit from us because the Axumites, they took that part of the story with the Isis, the Horus, and fucking Osiris. They took that Trinity stuff. It became what's called Coptic Christianity, or the real organic Gnostic Christianity. When you hear in the Bible that they were persecuting Christians, yeah, Rome, it's not talking about Mzungu Christians of today. It's talking about these same Gnostic Africans, like them groups like the Axumites and stuff, the Coptic Christians in Egypt, the Coptic Christians in the Sudan, the Coptic Christians in Ethiopia, the Coptics even in the Israel and Yemen and fucking Arabia, because don't get it twisted. They got Coptic groups in all of these places. It's not just Muslims in Arabia. You understand? Because it's a Muslim country. You're still going to have certain groups of esoteric groups there, and a lot of them are under pressure. Then Muslims put them under pressure and fuck with their shit. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this was what was going on in the time of Merowe. Obviously, these people have been changing up the story and shit. We've got our own history and our own story and stuff. During the time of Napata, we was still living under Egyptian customs. And then when King Arkamani, or who you say in Greek, Ergamenes, when King Arkamani came on the scene, by this time Egypt had become corrupted. So it's all these Hellenistic, Macedonian, Greco-Roman kind of Egypt shit that we was using in Kush. So we would dress like them, we would have the same beliefs, have the same customs, until King Arkamani, and he was like, fuck that. We don't want nothing to do with that Egypt, because that's not Egypt. So we're going to go back to what we know Egypt was. And he changed all the customs, and he went back to Kushite customs to the point where he introduced customs that they never even had in Egypt. So that was specifically a Meroan thing, to do with Merowe. That weren't even to do with no fucking pharaohs or nothing. He brought that in when in terms of fashion, culture, you understand, language. We stopped using Egyptian. It was like, fuck that, we're making our own script. And now they started using what's called today Meroitic, which scholars claim has not been deciphered, which I've been telling people, yo, I know people that have deciphered that. So certain ones of them texts, I'm reading it. That's why I can give you the story of King Arkamani and certain Kendakis like Amunushiketo and Amaniris. And you can learn it too. And you can learn to say that shit too. But a lot of us are still in ignorance, still stuck in these like, some of us are stuck in Kemet, some of us are stuck in fucking the Israelite doctrine, some of us are stuck in the Muslim thing, in the Arabian desert 1400 years ago. We can't come up to now. Do you understand what I'm saying? But this is what they were doing. They were spinning out these falsehoods. Yeah? So like I said, the real Jews are the Falasha, tribes like the Igbo, tribes like the Yoruba, yeah? Tribes like the Lemba, the Igbo people who would tell you, yo, we used to live in the Levant and we came back into Africa. You understand? The Gnostics, they're the groups that were the Gnostics that had all the ingredients that the Muzungu used to make up these false religions or GMO religions of today. It was the Gnostics, yeah, Gnosticism, which is really just esoteric knowledge that is not understood by the average person. It's only understood by the person that has committed themselves to really absorbing and learning these teachings. So that's what esoteric information is. Yeah, 85% ain't gonna get the gist of what you're saying because they haven't met themselves that far. They haven't gone into that shit for themselves. Do you understand? So even in Islam, you will have these same Gnostic groups like the Sufis, Ansarullah, Kalawatia order and stuff, where they will be totally different from the average Orthodox Sunni Muslim or Shia Muslim today with his hadith and his praying 5 times a day and all of the dogma and shit. You will find they're more into the mysticism, yeah? Like the Moors was in the Moorish Empire with their rain dances to make rain comes and their metaphysics and shit. They're into that. They ain't into like all the belief stuff and all that dogma stuff and hadiths and all of that bullshit. They totally different. You understand? And so that's why I call this, all of these religions, I refer to them as the schools or the stepping stones. Because at that point, when we're in like Meroe and Egypt's long gone and that, a lot of that information is gone. So a lot of our people were in a situation where if we didn't salvage whatever truth we had from our past, yeah, our history could be gone. So that's why we have to respect people like Pharaoh Shabaka and Taharka and stuff, because I can't stress it enough. I've put it in my book, how they weren't just pharaohs. They were into like archiving our story because they had realized at that point, this is 715 BC, around that time when Shabaka comes on the throne in the 25th dynasty in Egypt. We're talking 715 BC, right? And he says to himself, fucking hell, these Muzungu have smashed up all our temples. They smashed up all our sacred stories and shit. Yo, these man found one stone that gave the Memphite theology of how this earth was created and stuff. Yo, do you know how much that meant to my man? This is just a canvas I did, by the way. Do you know how much it meant to him? Where he was telling his people, listen, rewrite this story because it was battered. It was all smashed up, battered or tattered. He says, yo, you see things like this, we have to preserve it. So he got all his scribes to write that again on another stone, yeah, and preserve it. Today it's in the museum. You call it the Shabaka stone. But he went round the whole of Kemet doing that, where he was like, yo, rebuild that temple. Do you know what that is? That's the temple of Het Heru. You have to rebuild that pylon there, rude boy. Yo, put up a temple for Amun here. Yo, you see that story there? Do you know how important this story is? Yo, archive that story there so our people can have that story in the future. And we sit here today and we don't praise these people enough. I do. I wake up and I say, yo, Shabaka, I'm so thankful that you did that. I went to the British Museum and put my hand on that Shabaka stone, yeah? I put my hand on it just to connect with that energy, man. Because I know he left his energy on that stone for eternity. So I feel like I can speak about stuff like this because normal circles of black people don't. This shit just goes over people's head. But we were historians, so he was like me. I feel very passionate about shit like that. If that was me, I'd have did the same. Yo, fucking do that over and stick that there on a big, however big piece of granite, yeah? Do that shit, rude boy. I'll be doing the same thing he did. And we had to do that because they were changing our narrative. They didn't want us to have an identity. They didn't want us to know who we are. It's like what I put in that reel when it says, do you think they hate us because we're black? They don't hate us because we're black. They hate us because we're gods. They know who we are. And the only way they can conquer you is to make you forget that you're a goddess or you're a god. Once you forget that, yo, now he's on that 5 cents, 10% of the brain level. Yeah, now we can fuck with him. Yeah, but they had to take you out of that state there. They had to bring you down like a couple pegs. So they're the schools. When I say schools, I'm talking about Hebrew doctrine. If you study the Hebrew doctrine, it will give you the jewels. Study it without being without being a bias towards Israelite or without being a Christian. Yeah, read the Quran without being a Muslim. Read it just to be critical of it. You understand? Like if someone gave you a contract and you like, yo, let me read this shit to see if you're trying to catch me out. Read that shit like a contract when it comes to your Torah and your Bible, yeah, and your Quran, and even your own sacred text, Sumerian tablets, yeah, Babylonian tablets, yeah, Olmec stuff, yeah. Read that shit with a critical mind, with lateral thinking, as if you're reading a fucking contract, like your life depends on it. Do you understand? And then you'll get to the truth. You see behind all the little snares of this shit, yeah. So they're the schools, and they're necessary for us to go through, yeah. And the best way I would advise is like the master teacher advised this. Start from the latest one, because that's the most modern, which would be Islam. Start from there and go back through them. Go back through the Islam, to go back through Christianity, to go back through Judaism, to go back, you understand? And then it will lead you to, okay, let me study this Persian Empire. Okay, let me study the Assyrians. Yo, what is this first and second Babylonian shit? Okay, what's Akkad? How's Akkad different to Sumeria? And then you start piecing shit together rather than just become stuck in one book and a whole bunch of emotional attachments based on beliefs. You really can't prove or disprove none of it. It's just beliefs. Do you understand? I'd rather go on the proof and just deal with what I can see in observable reality. That's the way my mind works. Some people might want to do the beliefs thing where they don't care nothing about facts, yeah, or evidence. They just want to have faith and have belief. If that works for you, that works for you. But then I'm not going to work for you. So if you're one of them people and you're watching this, I don't know how you can do that. Yeah, so all of them schools are stepping stones, as I told people before, because we were being, like, you couldn't, it's like if somebody's a crackhead, yeah, you can't just take away the crack from them and they're not smoking crack no more. That shit will probably kill them. Their body can just go into a shock, withdrawal shock, you understand? And you have the withdrawal syndromes, and with heroin you get cold turkey. Yo, people can die off that shit. And it's the same when we're dealing with religion. Yeah, a lot of us don't understand that. Religion is crack. It's fucking spiritual crack or heroin. So there's a certain, you have to wean yourself off of it. Do you understand? You have to walk yourself out of it. You can't just like, it's done. Do you understand? It's gonna have like psychological problems with you. Your narratives are gonna be damaged. Your outlook's gonna be damaged, either or. Some people just throw the whole of it out. Yeah. Some people embrace the whole of it. The two are the same. Do you understand? It's damaging your lens because you refuse to just say, okay, I'm just gonna be neutral and study this thing from a neutral point and go off facts that are logical and that can be explained and that I can see in observable reality. Anything else I'm gonna have to admit is a belief, and I'm gonna base more on the facts, because that way I don't need to have faith or be stuck in beliefs and having debates and shit. You understand what I'm saying? All of these schools or stepping stones, yeah, were a way for us to be walked out. That's how it was set. That's how we set it as the 1,000,000,000,000. We'd be walked out of religion. So if you go back through all our religious teachers, go back to like Marcus Garvey, yeah, he had mistakes in what he was saying. We don't hold him in a bad light because he said certain things that were wrong or that he made mistakes. Hell no. If we go back to the context of the time, the 1800s that he was living in, yeah, yo, you couldn't even begin to imagine how hellish it was to be someone like that in the 1800s with all that racism and colonialism. And come on now, you understand? I sing praises to Marcus Messiah God and everything he did to advance us as a nation. Then you can skip to the next one, like Noble Jew Ali. He had shit that he said that was wrong. Yeah, but the whole theme of what he was doing, and to walk us out of this Arab man thing of Islam and give us our own version based on Moorish science, not no fucking beliefs, science and shit, and walk us out of this stupid ass Mohammedism shit. Yeah, it's the same with Elijah Muhammad. He had mistakes. You hear people, oh, I don't listen to Nation of Islam. Elijah Muhammad was this, Elijah Muhammad was that. What have you done? The person who's criticizing, what have you done that you can compare to what Elijah Muhammad did? Elijah Muhammad's legacy is still benefiting people now. I don't care how much baby mums he had or fucking what flaws he had as a human. I got fucking flaws. You've got flaws. Do you understand what I'm saying? You got to stop looking at these stepping stones and these leaders and looking at them for the faults. Fuck a fault. I could look at you and find loads of faults in you. You could look at me and find loads of faults in me. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we got to stop doing this with our leaders. And when it comes to us trying to find truth, we're trying to make these people perfect. They don't have to be perfect for what they said to be valid. They don't have to be never wrong. You understand? They're not the almighty creator God. You understand? They're a human like me and you that's going through the expansion of consciousness and growth and a white man's world and racism. Yeah, a lot of the shit they said was wrong. But if you add up all of these leaders and listen to all of them, don't just be biased and say, well, I'm not listening to him because I don't like him. Like I told you, I don't particularly like Bobby Hemmett, but I don't mean that he might have a live or a lecture that I'm like, yo, I felt that. What he said there, I felt that. I just said that to say there's other people that my energy sits with them better with what they're saying. It's not, everyone's not gonna appeal to you, every teacher or every speaker. Some speakers are not gonna appeal to you and some are. But I'm just saying we gotta stop looking for these people to be perfect. Their job was to come and take us that one step, just a little more out of this orthodox religious box thinking. And so we can learn so many jewels from each one of these stepping stones. Yeah, whether we want to start from Islam and go backwards back to the Nile Valley, yeah, that's the way I did it because I was born in Islam. Or whether we want to start from the Kemet thing and have a re-look at the Bible again, starting from like the Jews and what the Bible said and how it's all stolen from Ma'at and the 42 confessions, and then okay, let's have a look at how that crosses over into Christianity and then come up into the Islam, how it carried over. You can do it any way you want, but don't be ignorant like a lot of our people who just throw everything out the window, because all of them teachers had faults as humans and they're allowed to have faults. We as black people go on like some of our leaders ain't allowed to have faults or to have made mistakes. Our job is to correct the mistakes and hold their name up in light, whether it's the Henrik Clark or the Dr. Ben or the Kaba Kimeni or the Sheikh Anta Diop or the Dr. York, whoever, or the Bobby Hemmett, Phil Valentine. Any mistakes they might have made, rather than blaming them for it, we're privy to more information now than they was in their time when they was bringing out certain things. Yeah, so we should respectfully correct that shit. You understand what I'm saying? And I feel like it's our obligation as a people to do that and to hold their names up. As I've said before with Plato and Aristotle and Pythagoras and all them, Herodotus and all, they made fucking mistakes. Some of them outright lied. But you never hear the Tamahu tearing them down. You understand? They're always going to hold their names up. You understand? And if they made a mistake, they'll correct it. They'll address that. Okay, that was a mistake that Newton made, or Einstein's theory here may have not be correct. But they're not going to rip down Einstein. Like us, we hear one thing, oh, Elijah Muhammad, he had about 6 baby mums, you know, oh, let's rip him down, he's a womanizer, fuck Elijah Muhammad. Like, our people is the easiest to just turn on our own. All they have to do is just throw a little, yo, and we just, yo, it's crazy. So, in them times, after the fall of Merowe, because Merowe ran to about 500 AD, so remember we're not talking BC, which Kemet's gone and shit, and the Kendakes have got strong and shit now after Napata's fell. That's like the part of Kush that's closer to Egypt, Napata, yeah, with Gebel Barkel, the temple of Taharqa, the pyramid of Taharqa, and the holy mountain, because we had a holy mountain way before Mount Zion. Mount Zion's a Bible thing. They stole that shit from us. We as Kushites, we had the holy mountain of Gebel Barkel, which was shaped like the Uraeus, and the sun came up and balanced on the Uraeus. So, yo, that was the mountain of Amun for us. It had a gold plaque on there with the name of Taharqa on that bastard, right in front of the temple. They don't tell us this shit. They want to tell us about some mountain called Mount Zion that don't nobody know where the fuck this mountain is. You can, if you can go to the Sinai, right, and show me where Mount Zion is. Yeah, there's about 6 different candidates for Mount Zion. They can't even tell you which fucking one's Mount Zion. Do you understand? Some holy ass mountain. I can go to friggin' Kush. Me or you could go there and stare at this Gebel Barkel and see that bastard that actually does look like the Uranus and the sun. Yo, that's tangible for me. It's not a belief thing. It's tangible. It's a fact. Do you understand? And even like I said, in the time later, because that fell, Napata, that was one error of Kush. And then we had to move even further south. And we made Merowe. Do you understand? And so Merowe was where the Kendake's ruled. Where, and Arkamani did that. He brought in a law that gave the woman the right to rule as an absolute monarch. Not just because her brother was the king, or her husband was the king. Do you understand? So she's the Kendake. Now she can be absolute, just like the man. So by the time of Merowe, yeah, it was the women that had taken power because they were more better at social stuff and stuff. At that time, we fought as a people. Yeah, but I want to make a point as well. The Bible talks about the Israelites dressing in tassels. It was a Cushite thing for our clothes to have tassels on. You can't show me no Hebrew, ancient picture with niggas wearing the tassels or nothing. Yeah, the only place you're finding that is in the Nile Valley in Kush, where the Nubians were recorded to wear clothes with the tassels. That was a Nubian custom. Yeah, just like they're telling you about the Lion of Judah, there ain't no lions in Israel. Lions live in Africa. The lion was Apidima, which was the Kushite war deity. That's why Taharka in these men are in the Bible, because they were stealing the Kushite shit identity and giving it to some myth-made fucking Hebrews or Israelites. The Israelites, if you want to take it there, is us. So this is how layered this 6,000 years spell of sleep is. This is why I say, by the time you get to Dr. York, what you're seeing in that person is a culmination of all the teachers we had to walk us out this religious thing, yeah, who had come to address the little mistakes that they made, tie them all together, tie everything together so that we won't be producing followers no more. We'll be making clones of ourselves. When I speak to you, I'm giving you information that empowers you so you can do what I do. You can, what I've said to you, if you listen to me for long enough, you'll be able to say this to a next man in your terms. It won't be no different than what I'm saying. But in your terms, you'll be able to tell the people in your circle what I'm telling you, because we're not making followers. That's why we ain't got no following. We're making leaders, people who are going to write their own books, people who are going to make their own music, people who are going to inspire the community in their own way, whether it's through food, whether it's through exercise, whether it's through counseling. You understand what I'm saying? Whether it's through acting, whether it's through singing, we're going to make clones of ourselves, meaning we're going to make more gods like Tahuti was doing. And so that's why he, Dr. York, came to write those 450 books, yeah, with all those numerous languages, just to give you back your language so you could have the Ankh, the cosmic key, to go back through all this ancient stuff. Because that Ankh is the key to unlocking all truth, past, present, future. Don't get it twisted. That's why anywhere you see in our ancestors, they depict themselves with that Ankh, that cosmic key to unlocking your pineal, which means that cosmic key where you unlock consciousness. Any school of thought, any religion, any science, any philosophy, any ideology, going back to the Emerald Tablets or the sacred teachings of the Netra Jehuti. Do you understand? And so it was said that in the 30 years leading up to the revolution, which was the period from 2000 going to the period from 1970 going to 2000 is classed as pre-revolution. So if you check in our time in modern culture, if you go back to the 1960s, 70s, it was like, yo, it was like a pre-revolution shit. Everyone was on black power, civil rights, yo, fairness, fuck the government. There was a spiritual, the hippie flower power shit, music, Bob Marley, yo, the whole time was like, it was an awakening going on. And they had to play it down. And they played it down for 30 years. 30 years because they knew, bastard, there's going to be a black messiah and there's going to be 144,000 motherfuckers who come out of this knowledge, and we're not going to be able to hold them, and we're not going to be able to manipulate nothing any further, because they've already looked through Nikola Tesla's invention, that looking glass time machine shit. They've already seen their end. And so they seeing how this shit plays out. So now they can just keep trying to move the goalposts and just have some kind of sick hope that they'll be able to stop what's happening, but they can't. It's just getting worse and worse. You can see the truckers in Canada, to Australia, to France, to here, the UK, to US. Yo, this shit's spilling. And the more they try and lie and give a false narrative and divert you here and distract you, it's just getting worse and worse. These things are snowballing. Yeah. So all leading back to the blueprint of religion that they hammered out in ancient Sumer to take us away from Ma'at. And they gave us this draconian Anunnaki blueprint of religion under Tammuz and Enki and them when they was on a disagreeable thing. Yeah, and they took our pineal vibration way down to the lowest to trap us in this 5 sense thinking. So you wouldn't be able to access your kundalini, your telepathy, your intuition, your clairvoyance, your psychometry, and just your inner knowing of who and what you are and who and what and where we are as to what this earth is. Is it a globe? Is it a flat earth? Is it a realm? Are we alone? Like we had an inner knowing for all of them shit before they locked our shit off. Do you understand? So Christianity is just another form of Hinduism, because when the Hinduism couldn't hold us no more, that's when they hammered out this Christianity based on Egyptian and Sumerian teachings. You understand? And that person that you see on the cross that they tell you is Jesus, that's really a figure from Hinduism called Sri Chaitanya. Like, I will write it on the thread if you want to research that. And this links back to certain Christians telling you Jesus went to India and rare. And this links back also to, when I say Jesus, I'm talking about Joshua, okay? 7 AD to 127 AD, black man from the Levant. Yeah, we're talking about him. We're not talking about Serapis or no Muzungu or none of that shit there. I'm talking about the Nubian. He had a son whose name was Simon. You can read about him in Acts 13, verse 6, which tells you about Simon Bar Jesus. Bar means son of. So if it says Simon Bar Jesus, Simon the son of Jesus, who was a sorcerer, this guy was disagreeable. But he was running up all around India, dealing with all these Hindus and shit like that. So when you see him, that figure on the cross, that's crucified, that's not Joshua, yeah? That's Sri Chaitanya or Simon Bar Jesus. And that's, you want to read about him, you can confirm him and him being a fact in Acts chapter 13, verse 6. Okay? So like I said earlier, the ancestors knew that these Muzungu, under their military weapon and stuff, they were going around killing people who remembered the old ways. Any of us that remember the ancient teachings and that were trying to wake people up and share it with people, they would label us a heretic and they would come and kill us. So we are the volunteers. If you find yourself doing that now, we're the same family who has been doing it all through Earth's history. So we're always sent here to wake people up, to remind people, to increase the vibration. And we come here as armies. Some, like, if, let's say me, Djedefre Memnon, I'm not one person, you know. I'm everybody that I interact with off camera. So if you've ever given me any light or had a conversation with me and I learned something from you, and rare, you're a part of this shit here, this or whatever else. But Djedefre Memnon ain't one person. I'm my whole spiritual family. Our spiritual family came here so we could do this. So I'm not just creating ripples in space-time myself. Any one of you that are tuned into this and are assisting me doing it, you're fucking creating ripples in space-time too. Do you understand? Because we're one soul group. We're a unified whole. So sometimes you might not think, oh, you're doing nothing. But yo, you're doing everything. That's real talk. Yeah, so the ancestors had to make us forget so that we won't be picked out and killed and shit. So a lot of the information went underground into the mystery schools and stuff. And a lot of us were made to forget. And now we've come into the time where we've been made to remember. Because now is the time, it's not just ancestral curses. You've got ancestral gifts in your DNA that need to be awoken. And they can only be awoken when you become conscious of them and accept and embrace and believe that they're for real. And then they come online then. You can't just think, okay, yeah, just because you've heard about it and you told yourself you believe. Nah, you have to really believe in this shit to the point where you're trying to switch these motherfuckers on by your meditation or your hertz music or your nature walks, or not just sitting down. You understand? You have to really graft this shit out. Now is the time where they're making us remember, man. Yeah, because certain shit was hidden from us for a reason, because we're the volunteers. Some of us have come here more than once to this earth realm. I've come here more than once to this earth realm. I've come here about 4 or 5 times. I swear this is my last time coming here. I've been waiting for this time for a long time. So I came with certain powers in this incarnation, like book writing and speaking and stuff, because I've been doing it in so much different incarnations, different planets. Do you understand? And I'm here to make you remember. I'm here to make you remember who you are. See, I had a vision. I don't know if Killer Gorilla is watching this, but I had a vision. Shout out to Killer Gorilla. That even Killer Gorilla, I knew him in another incarnation, and we was Medjay. And the same goes for Daniel Roswell, who runs the Black History UK channel on Instagram. These are people that I know from my from past incarnations, and the same goes to Stax from New Jersey, who now lives in Texas. Yeah, same Medjay. Yeah, we were Medjay before. We were already fighting military wars and information wars in different lifetimes. We already knew we have to come back for a final war, and the final war that we come back for will be so unnatural to everything, every other incarnation we had. Yeah, that it will take a very hard effort for us to remember who and what we are and what our powers are. You understand what I'm saying? Volunteers, man. Yeah. So even stuff like Rastafari, that's a stepping stone. Don't diss the Rastas, man. We should give a lot of backing to how significant it was for Rastafari to stand on their truth, to take us out of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and kind of step us back into the blackness thing. Blackness, Africa, blackness, you understand? Melanin. Take us back into that shit there. Yeah? So all of them little things there is stepping stones. Yeah, so now we're in a time where we're what we call the removal of a veil. Like I tell you, it's very important for you to have studied certain things, because we wouldn't know about the veil if we didn't read the Bible. So like I said, you can learn jewels from all of these schools, because in the time of Abrahamism, Egypt was dead. I'm talking about as a kingdom, as a nation, the sacred higher mystery, all of that's gone. So now we got groups that have salvaged certain parts of the information and have it in certain allegorical terms, like you might say the Torah. So the real Torah, before we went into Babylonian bondage and lost it and had to come up with this bullshit today, the real Torah, that was sacred teachings from Jehuti that we as Israelites kept, or Essenes. And we kept it in the Essene community, and it became what's today called the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Book of Enoch and the Nag Hammadi text. These are the real biblical shit, not that fucking church shit, King James church canonized crap, or the Septuagint, that mistranslated Greek shit. You understand? All them fucked up translations. I'm talking about real translations of the Torah that come from the ancient Hebrew, not no Bible shit. Yeah, but if you do, I'm not saying not to have a Bible, still have a Bible, but I'm saying don't rely on that. Don't rely on it. I showed you I have an apocryphal Bible here. I've even got normal Bible, but don't rely on these. Rely on our shit and get away from English. Hold on, let me speed this up. Yeah, so they came up with the Ham myth. The Ham myth is the myth that Noah had 3 sons. Yeah, and one of them was black, one of them was white, and one of them was Asian. That's what the story of Ham represents in their terms. Yeah, they're saying Noah had 3 sons, one was black, one was white, and one was Asian. That's how you get all the races in the world. They're mixed up, and that's how you get all the different mixes of human beings. That's some bullshit. Yeah, even though it's founded on the truth. Yeah, because all you have to do is read the passage in the Bible where it speaks about Noah's 3 sons. I'm sure it's Genesis 9, and it says, yo, in Noah's 500th year, yeah, he had Sham, Hem, and Japheth. So if he had them in his 500 year, that's 1 year. So if he had these 3 sons in 1 year, that means they're triplets, mate. That means if one of them's black, all of them are black. That means if one of them's white, all of them are white. That means if one's Asian, all of them are Asian. They're fucking triplets. It says in this in the 500 year, Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now, if you can have 3 sons that are in 1 year, that are 3 different races, then maybe I'm wrong. But as far as I'm aware, with my intelligence, yo, if you're having 3 sons in 1 year, they're all going to be the same race from the same woman. You understand what I'm saying? If they're all from the same woman, sorry, they're going to be the same race, because it says Noah and this woman had 3 sons in 1 year. No woman can have three pregnancies in 1 year. Do you understand what I'm saying? If she's had 3 sons in 1 year, then there must be triplets. Yeah, but they give us this myth, yeah, so they can tell us that curse of Ham bullshit. And then further, when you read the story, it wasn't even Ham who was cursed. It says Canaan was cursed. Ham was told off. Canaan was cursed. Genesis 9:25, cursed be Canaan. And he was cursed with leprosy, albinism. Like I said, that means he had to be fucking black first. Do you understand? So they came up with this Ham myth to separate black people, yeah, and put them down, keep them down into this slavery shit, like God cursed us with some type of black skin, when that's not even supported in the Bible. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's false. And today they say that Hamites, them black people that they're mentioning in the Bible, are not Negroes. So remember the word ham, and it's fucked up because ham means bacon and pork and pig and that. But anyway, the word ham in Hebrew comes from the Cushite word Kam or Kem in Cushitic or Nilotic, which means black. Like if I say Kemet or Al-Kam, the black land, or Kemet, land of the blacks, yeah, or alchemy, the black sciences, yeah, Kem, Kam, yeah, that means black, yeah, and the same goes for Kush, yeah, if I say Kush in Hebrew or in Cushitic, and the same goes for Sud, if I say Sud, yeah, in Cushitic, Nilotic, Aramic, Arabic, Ashuric, Syriac, and also Indus Valley language, when they call the black people in the Indus Valley the Sudra, the black people, the Sudra caste. Do you understand? So in the Ham story, they're just trying to come up with an excuse to justify slavery and try and have it like God cursed black people, but they didn't even look at the story properly, because Ham didn't get cursed. The cursed is Canaan, and Canaan was cursed with leprosy. Yeah, even though they don't tell you directly in the Bible that it was leprosy that he was cursed with, they just come with the curse. But if you study the language and stuff and study what the ancient curse is in the Bible, you will find out that we're dealing with albinism and leprosy. Yeah, so this is why, if you notice, Muslims, their language is Arabic. Their Quran is in Arabic. So they're supposed to learn Arabic. But only 10% of the Muslim world speak Arabic. 90% of them don't even speak Arabic. Yeah? And then out of that 10%, only 2% know it well enough to teach it. Only 2% speak it as a first language well enough to teach it. And they're telling you this is supposed to be some universal language. That don't sound like a universal language to me. Do you understand? English is more of a universal language than Arabic. More people in the world today speak English than Arabic. So why did your God send your universal message in an obscure language? Like, people don't speak Arabic today. Didn't he know that in the last days, in the end of the world, when this shit mattered, that most people won't even speak fucking Arabic? You understand? This is how stupid some of these religions are, and that's why you have to scrutinize them to separate the wheat from the chaff. You understand? And the same goes with Christians. Ask yourself, why don't Christians speak Hebrew? How come Christians are always speaking like Latin, English, anything but Hebrew? Because if they stick to the Hebrew, the real language of the real Jesus, who is Yeshua, then your Bible will read completely different to the bullshit they're giving you in church, and the bullshit narrative they're trying to give you about God the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, Mary, white people. That's all bullshit. If you read in the Hebrew, you're right back in your Sumerian tablets. The Anunnaki shit would jump out to you because when you're reading Elohim, you're just going to see Anunnaki. When you're reading Anunnaki, you're just going to see Elohim. You're going to see, hold on, this is the same shit. So they want to trap you away from that. They don't want you to be there. So Christians keep Christians away from Aramaic Hebrew because you're going to see through all of this church shit. And you're going to go back to the original story of the Sumerian tablets and you're going to focus on this word Elohim. In the beginning, Elohim said, let us. Oh, so hold on, it's a group of them. That's why it said us, because the word's Elohim, it's not God. That word God is a mistranslation. It's not singular. It's plural. It's a whole group of beings saying, yo, let's us make man in our image and likeness. They don't want you to go there. So as a Christian, they're going to keep you away from learning Hebrew. As a Muslim, they're going to keep you away from finding out what Allahumma really means or what Alihat really means. That Imam's going to keep you tranced in this Mohammedism thing. So you don't really read what's written in the black and white. Yeah. So all of this shit in modern times, yeah, most of it, yeah, they stole from the teachings of Akhenaten. In Akhenaten's time, when he switched us from this polytheistic type of religious superstition, and because the people were so superstitioned out and spooked out, and the priests at Amun were corrupted, and they were going on like how priests in the church do today with all the bullshit, yeah, he made strict changes. It was like, yo, I don't want this polytheism shit no more. I don't want these priests to have this power like this. So he started closing down temples and all types of shit and developed, whether you want to call it a new narrative or reintroduce the original narrative, he changed the shit. Do you understand? And after he fell, when a lot of his followers had to leave Egypt, they took his teachings with them. And again, in certain other lives when I've told you, during the imperial age, the Middle Kingdom, where we started going out and creating buffer zones around Egypt. So we would go to, let's say, fucking Turkey and tell the Turkish ruler, yo, your first son, we're taking him to Egypt and you're going to pay us gold every year, pal, or I'm going to come and kick off your jaw. Yeah, we had to get wicked because after the occupation of all these Muzungu and shit, we ain't waiting on man to come and attack Egypt no more. I'm going out there to Turkey. I'm telling this Turkish cunt, I'm going to kick your jaw off. You pay me every fucking year and keep in line, or I'm going to come up here and sort you out. And if anything kicks off up here, you need to be reporting to me that, yo, walk one. So we created a buffer zone around us. And in this time, we was taking their firstborn sons back to Kemet and training them in Kemet language, culture, spirituality, tradition, and whatever. And when his Ras dad's dead, we put the son back in charge of that country now. Now the son's got even more ties to Egypt. He feels like Egypt's his mother. He knows Egyptian history. He knows Egyptian custom. All he's ever known is Egypt. He knows more. He feels more Egyptian than he does Turkish. So now we ain't got to worry about Turkey because he's one of our vassal states, and Iran and this and fucking Iraq. Do you understand what I'm saying? And Arabia. We made sure we were surrounded by vassal states. And I say that to say, during this time, a lot of information from us, yeah, got dissipated into certain different regions of where you're calling the Middle East and the Eastern world, and went into Buddhism and Zennism and the Indus Valley teachings, Mahabharata and Upanishad and Islam and Christianity and Judaism, and further into Knights Templars and Rosicrucians and fucking, do you understand what I'm saying? Priory of Sion. All of them teachings came from us, yeah? But over time, they become twisted and become distorted so that they can suit certain different agendas and certain different people and stuff. And then they cast us, the original ones, in a bad light. But it started from Akhenaten, yeah? And the Axumites, where I told you about the Axumites coming and smashing up Merowe and that, yeah? And so what they did was turn Ma'atian love into Abrahamic fear. Do you hear me? We was on a love thing. Like I said, we used to govern ourselves. We had no needs for all of these governmental offices and all of these corporations and institutions, and because each person in society was a part of a collective that produced an economy. You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't just based on like how it is today, like all this governmental running of your life and what you think and what you can do and what you can't do, and police and justice. All of that shit was my out. So if someone found out you had stolen, yo, you're in trouble because that person's telling everyone, yo, this guy broke my heart. And then the whole village is coming down on you. The whole, everyone's on you. From the young kid to the big, to the pharaoh, to yo, no one can help you. Yeah, Ma'at, we was in a theocracy. We made a utopian society. Herodotus spoke, well, he had no need for no fucking police and shit like that. That shit came later, after Old Man Kush fell, after we lost the Jews. Yeah? And then what they started doing, the Phoenicians, is mixing alien concepts into the original teachings, what they brought with them out of Africa, out of Ethiopia. So the Phoenicians, when they come in contact with certain different Asiatic groups and that, would now come up with what is strictly can be seen as Phoenician deities and Phoenician gods that really don't link back to Africa and stuff. And then once the Mzungu come and take that over, they wash that out into totally something else. And you've got a lot of certain Hebrew Israelites today that are worshipping Phoenician deities. When they're giving you all this Yahawashi and all this shit here, this is some Phoenician thing. That's got nothing to do with the original pantheon going back down into Kemet and Kush, yeah? And what they do is use all of your teachings, all of these groups. I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's Hindu, I don't care if it's Buddhist, Jain, Rasta, Christian, Muslim, Nation of Islam, all of them are using Kushite teachings that trace back to Old Man Kush, the super civilization, Old Man Kush. Do you understand what I'm saying? All of them. And what they do is paint the originators in a bad light. So they tell us that Pharaoh held the Israelites in captivity. So we're always going to think that, yo, the Egypts were evil, man. Them man were on some like black magic, evil, killing up God's prophets and all that. Not knowing that, hold on, these people are smart, you know. When they're talking about the Pharaoh, they're talking about the Hyksos. So they're talking about when them white people ran up in Egypt and fucking took over. For 400 years they were running shit up there. Apepi this and fucking Jacobson this. All these Hebrew name bastards. These Mzungu, Habiru, Kushashu people. Which today you call Ashkenazim or Zionists. Yeah, they was running shit with names like Pharaoh Popita and King Popita. We don't have a word for king in Kemet. The word is Nesubiti, meaning unifier of the two lands, or Nesu or Suten. You understand? We don't have that word king, because that's some speller Kingu shit. So anytime you see king, when it's talking about someone in Egypt, in a Bible or somewhere, you know, that's not really talking about a black man in Kemet. That's talking about one of them Hyksos kings, like Pharaoh Popita, or whatever his name, Puppet Master Popita, or whoever the fuck they say his name. They're talking about them. So in that time, them Hyksos had the native people, the Egyptians, the Kemetians, they had them under slavery. So they was raping out our women and smashing up our statues, and you could study that whole Hyksos shit until a character called Second Enratau and his two sons, yeah, Moses, and Moses, for them to give you this bullshit Exodus story. Yeah, they cast you in a bad light when really it's the other way around. That story about the Exodus is really the story about the Hyksos and how they came into Kemet and tried to run the thing. And after 400 years, two Moses, real Moses, yeah, one called Moses, the first son who came on the throne after they killed the father. Yeah, these Hyksos killed the father on the battlefield. And so Moses, the son, he came on the throne as the last ruler of the 17th dynasty. And he was 17 years old, yeah? And then after him, he died after a battle, a victorious battle, but it didn't end the war. He just won a lot of shit and sacked one of their cities in Memphis. They was running Memphis, these Mzungu, and they had the fortress city of Memphis, and it was a problem, a thorn in our side, because that whole city was built so you can't attack it. So there was just no way for us to attack this big city with the white wall until Kamos discovered a way sailing down the Nile, and he attacked it, and he stole a whole heap of horses and gold and weapons and shit, but he mysteriously died. So then after him, the other Moses, yeah, because there's 5 of these Moseses. The other Moses is his younger brother, and his brother at the time when he died is 9 years old. So Moses, yeah, he comes on the throne, and he finished what his brother started by chasing these motherfucking Mzungu way back out of Kemet, all the way back into Canaan, into a fortress what they had in Canaan, where they trapped themselves in a fortress. And Amos went to the fortress with something like 18,000 soldiers, but just couldn't sack the fortress. You understand? He exhausted his army trying to sack this fortress. You understand what I'm saying? In a later time, I think it was under Pharaoh, one of the Tutmosis, they went and finished them off. They said, yo, our ancestor Amos couldn't sack these guys in this fortress, you know. I feel like going there and sacking these dudes once and for all. Because I don't forget that 400-year shit. They came up in Kemet, smashed up all our stuff, made us lose a lot of our culture. A lot of our knowledge got lost in that 400-year period. We didn't have it. If it wasn't for queens like Kendake Ahotep, who was the mother of these two Moseses, she was like another historian or Renaissance person like Shabaka later. Yeah, she started brought back in the customs and brought back in certain rituals, like even the crown of Upper and Lower Egypt in the time of the Hyksos. All them traditions got lost, and she was the one to bring back those traditions and bring back Kemet to some form of glory of what it was. It was her that did that. And remember, she lost her husband on the battlefield. She lost her oldest son, Kamosis, on the battlefield. And through all that time, she had to be the inspiration for her husband. She had to be the inspiration for her son and her other son. And no one talks about her. We just hear about all the guys, Second Enre and Kamos and Amos and the pharaohs. And no one really talks about these characters. You understand? So this is what I wanted to do with this book. Like when I go into their story, I'm speaking more about Ahotep and saying, yo, if it wasn't for Kendake Ahotep, imagine the kind of woman she must have been to get us through that period. That's the family that liberated us from this bullshit in that time. 400 years, just like now we've had 400 years of this bullshit. Imagine if a family came now and ended this shit for us. And we would love that family, right? That's how this family was with this woman, Queen Ahotep. Do you understand? And they liberated us, and that family ruled in Kemet for about 400 years, just because of the greatness and the strength of that family. You understand? But as I say, they change the narratives. So what they do is take that story and switch it around and say, okay, instead of Kamos and Amos and them pharaohs being the liberators, let's say that, the pharaoh kidnapped us and brought us into Egypt as slaves. Yeah, that sounds wicked. Yeah, and they made us build the pyramids out of straws. They made us build bricks out of straw. Hold on. The pyramids is older than your whole fucking Bible. It's older than Abraham. It's older than Adam and Eve. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, okay, show me a pyramid in Israel. Since the Hebrews were forced to make bricks and build pyramids, you show me one of your pyramids. That means you Hebrews, you must have some pyramids in Israel. You understand that? Look better than our pyramids, because you built our pyramids under duress. If you're saying we put you in slavery and made you build these pyramids, you built them pyramids in Egypt under duress, yeah? Bullshit. And all you have to do is look at any one of them Giza pyramids and the whole geometry and math and everything that goes into that, and you would just X out that story. But this is what certain religious people want to believe in. Hebrew Israelites and Christians, and they want to believe in that, and it's fine if people want to believe in that. Like I told you in previous live, you have scientific people who believe in the science. They ain't really got much time for religion on that kind of level. And then you've got religious people who are all about the spookism and the myth and the faith and just believe, and they ain't got time for your evidence. They ain't got time for no facts. They ain't got time for no kind of evidence. They just believe in that shit. You understand? But yeah, they cast this in a bad light, and then they began the misappropriation, which means none of these religions will ever admit to you that the source of their teachings comes from the Nile Valley, whether it's Ethiopia or Kemet. It's the same culture. They're never going to admit that to you. Some of it comes from Mesopotamia and the Sumerian stories of Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation and stuff. They never admit it to you, even though it's right in your face. Some people will not admit that to themselves. Yeah, and so they started the religious stereotypes as well. With if you say something different to what they believe in and have an emotional attachment to, to them, you're just a heretic. You're a heretic, because really religion is just a mountain of lies which is covering some basic truths. So anytime you speak with somebody, whether it's the Bible or the Quran or the Torah, you can agree on basic truths. But then they go away from the little basic truths. That's not enough for them. They have to start spooking you out and giving you beliefs and shit. You understand? And giving you faith and telling you you're ignorance, or you're not going to know certain thing. Only God knows this. And then it just becomes a whole myth thing. Yeah. But yeah, they changed your doctrine from love to fear. Yeah. And the fear of punishment, because that's what Tamahu, that's how they function. They don't function on Ma'at. They function on a secular mind state. They don't really, they don't have that direct link with the sun as a child of the sun. Yeah, so they're not like me and you. They're kind of like the opposite pole. They have to come, they're more into their animal nature. That's more like their default. You understand what I'm saying? So the religions today have been put together in the form that they are today to restrict your thinking so that you can't really go back to the greatness of the ancient world and what we did as indigenous people. And that's if you just go to church and listen to the pastor and listen to what he's preaching from. He's only going to read the New Testament, and he's going to preach some stuff from Mark, Matthew, Luke, John, maybe a bit from Revelation, and he's going to spook you out. And the same goes for the Imam. Like, he's going to give you a whole different story than if you was to take that Quran for yourself and sit down and read that Quran for yourself, yeah, unbiasedly. You're going to come with a total different picture than the picture that these Mohammedists, this is what I call them, yeah, these people that worship Muhammad, they're going to come. It's just like Christianity. It's two different things. What's written in the book and what they're saying on the pulpit or in the khutbah is two different things. They don't go together. But if you read it for yourself with the mind state that we give you, especially coming from the critical level of thinking and the kind of metaphysical teachings that we're dealing with, we encourage you to go back to the Bible with that lens, so that you could see, you could unpack these themes even more for yourself. You understand what I'm saying? Because think of it this way, like, if a Christian says Jesus is the only way, yeah, ask a Christian, what about all the people who lived in the world before Jesus was born? What happened to them? Did they go to heaven or did they go to hell? Because remember, Jesus ain't born yet. So if Jesus is the only way, according to a Christian, that means everybody who died before Jesus was born on earth is gone to hell. It's some dumb thing. Do you understand? Religion breeds self-righteousness, yeah? And I want to say as well for these Hebrew Israelites, King James wasn't a good person just because he had black blood in him. Just because you could say he's a black, okay, let's say he's a black man. That don't make him good just because he's a black man. That's like somebody saying, in 100 years, oh, R. Kelly. And then somebody say, yeah, but he was black. So what? He's still a rapist. He's still a fucking pedophile or whatever he did. Being black doesn't change who he is. Do you understand? So when you give people, remember, I'm from England. I live in England. I'm from England and I live here. So somebody in America can't tell me about King James, because as far as I'm concerned, that's my shit. Your ass lives in America. You're supposed to be telling me about. I can't tell you about someone in America like fucking, let's say, Geronimo. I can't tell you about Geronimo. I can teach you, but if somebody from America corrects me on Geronimo, then I'm gonna have to take what he's saying, because he's in America. That's his shit. Do you understand? And that's how I feel about here as a black Saxon or an Ice Olmec. That's what we call ourselves, yeah? You can't tell me about King James Root Boy. I don't care if you're a Hebrew Israelite. I don't care if you're in America. You have to be here to have you have to be Robin Walker or somebody like that to correct me on King James, because I live here, mate. I live in Leicester, UK. I'm born here, General Hospital. I've studied this whole British, English, royal, black nobility shit. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm closer to the source than some of my brothers in America who want to be spouting this Hebrew Israelite shit and saying, oh, but King James was black. So what? He still wrote a book about demons, just like he got Francis Bacon, who you're calling Shakespeare, to put the fucking John Wycliffe Bible in English, because this Francis Bacon already had his own version of the Bible in English, and him and his Batman friend King James was like, yo, I want one of them, so I can go around and say, yo, this guy Djedefre is a witch, I'm gonna burn him at the stake. So Francis Bacon said, you know what now? this is controversial, so I don't want to do it under my name. So we'll do it under a moniker, and that moniker will be Shakespeare. We'll make up this character called Shakespeare. So in history, Shakespeare never existed, mate. You heard that from me. The Shakespeare is Francis Bacon, and Francis Bacon and King James were homosexual lovers. And yeah, so what if he was black? Yeah? So all of that shit about, oh, he was black and the Bible's our book, it's bullshit, bro. It's still bullshit. That shit came out in 1611. So what was y'all niggas reading before 1611? Half of you Hebrew Israelites can't even speak Hebrew. I speak more Hebrew than you do. So unless you can show me a Torah more relevant than mine, yeah, that goes back further than mine, or a Torah that's in Aramaic Hebrew, yeah, I've cancelled out that shit about King James. I live here, bro. This is where Richard III died. He died down the road. Another homosexual. Yeah, his cousin. Yeah, he died down the road on Bosworth Battlefield. Yeah. And like Jews say, Jesus is not their Messiah. Hebrew Israelites believe Joshua is their Messiah, but Ashkenazi Jews, white Jews, they don't believe in Jesus. They say Jesus weren't their Messiah. They're still waiting on their Messiah. I'm just putting that out there just so you can know. Not everyone all Jews don't believe in the same thing, like Hasidic Jews and Ashkenazi and Hebrew Israelites, and there's so many different views in themselves. Some of them are quite offensive, some of them are quite close and would agree with what I'm saying. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, and that's why I wrote that book, The Golden Child, because I was having a lot of, I wouldn't say debates, but I was clashing with a lot of Hebrew Israelites and having some back and forth with them. Not horribly, it was really good dialogue. So I was able to relay a lot of information to that particular group. And one of the threads must have went to something like 200 and something likes. Like, it was going everywhere. So at that time, when I was writing Coronation, something told me, yo, let me save this thread and then I'll transcribe it. So this book is actually, a lot of it is transcribed from that conversation, which was such a major conversation that I was having on Facebook. I saved it and I said, yo, I'm just going to come to a point where I'm going to build onto that, because obviously I didn't put this whole book on that thread, but the initial part of it, which started that book, was on the thread, and I was like, yo, I'd love to elaborate on that, but I ain't got time, and I'm not going to do it on Facebook. So I made it into a book, which is The Golden Child, Israel. Yeah, I'm going to finish in a minute. I've just got a few more points to touch, and then I'll let you guys go back to your day. Thank you for your time. But I've basically said all of this shit before, so I'm not even going to go over that. I'll just rush through these last few points. If Jesus is not the Messiah, according to certain Jews, yeah, he was supposed to have come 2,000 years ago. Ask these Jews, how long are you guys going to wait for your Messiah? Are you going to have to wait another 2,000 years for your Messiah if Joshua isn't your Messiah, who was supposed to be 2,000 years ago? Yeah? You're going to have to wait another 2,000 years, yeah, for this Messiah. When is he coming? And I'm asking for a friend. So yeah, it's a dumbing down spell that keeps getting recast at certain different times. Some of it comes from natural cataclysms that the earth goes through. Some of it comes from other beings coming with agendas to dumb us down and fiddle with us. You understand? But I just want to say, when you're dealing with these religions in the form that they are today, how they've been manipulated into what they are today, yeah, the gods that represent these books, the Allah in that manipulated Quran, or the Yahweh in that manipulated Torah, or the Theos, or the God in that manipulated Bible, is none other than a flesh and blood, brain-eating, meat-eating reptilian. And you can find the evidence for that in every one of them books. And we've spoken about this before on other lives. So again, I'm not going to go into the details of that. But God is not who they told you God is when you're reading them books. That's why you can just kill the argument with a simple question. Like, okay, why didn't God drown the devil? God drowned the whole world. Animals, tree, fucking ants, birds. But he never drowned the devil. Why didn't God just drown the devil one time and save everyone? It's stupid. Do you understand? In the narrative that they're trying to give you. Yeah? Religion became silly a very long time ago. It's not just now. A very long time ago, religion became see-through and silly, and people just hold on to the emotional attachment that these paradigms cause because we get them so early in our life, especially black people. We our parents act like mind controllers because the only thing they pass us down as inheritance in a lot of cases when we come from poor backgrounds is religion alone. So the same mental traps that we had to try and break away from, it's just continually handed down to the next generation. And we're the generation that has to stop it. We're the generation that has to direct our children's attention to the significance of this, because everything, all the different concepts that they're going to come into contact with in the future is pivoted around this shit. Whether it's transgenderism and trying to get them to destroy their image of God, because we're in the image of God. We're not supposed to have no bio this or bio shit hanging out your body or none of that shit there. You understand? This is literally linked into everything. You understand? Getting them to see that, yo, it's not just about playing games. They need to be studying this shit here. We need to be telling our children, yo, you reading a couple pages of this today, not because I want you to believe in it, but I want to create dialogue. So when they grow, you can be having these discussions with your children, and they can be having these discussions at school and wherever else if they're trying to be indoctrinated with Columbus or whoever else. Do you see what I'm saying? You are not a human. You are much more. I keep telling you guys this. You're a divine incarnation of the sun. And you don't have to be perfect to have a positive influence on people. Do you understand? How you deal with your imperfections and how you're authentic and how you're vulnerable and how you put your honest, authentic self on the front line for people. People will recognize that. You don't have to be the perfect version of you that you have in your head. Yeah, as we keep saying, we trying to be our best self. Best means there's an end to it. Don't try and be your best self. Change the narrative. Just try and be better every day, so you'll focus more on the mastery of yourself and just keep it there. Let me try and be better than I was yesterday. I'm my competition, me. My procrastination, my mental laziness, my habits, all that's what I'm fighting against. I'm not fighting against a next man or a next platform or a next page. You understand? Get to the mastery rather than this competition thing, and then we'll start complementing. We'll start complementing what each other's doing rather than trying to compete with each other. We'll break out of that way of thinking. And remember, yeah, as I've said before, the word halo and the word holy, yeah, come from the word helios, which means sun. Yeah? So when you say halo, that's from Helios. When you say holy, that's from Helios. So as I tell you, the real halo was the Afro, which was sun people, which was me and you, melanated people, or the children of the sun. And the real name of the Bible in its true form, when it comes to our teaching, was Helios Biblios, or the sun book. You understand? Young Pharaoh already told you that shit there. And we have sun heat genes within our bone marrow that interact with the electromagnetic spectrum, just like your chlorophyll, your melanin does. Yeah? So we are God's chosen. We're chosen by the sun. The sun kissed us since the dawn of time. That's why we look like this. Yeah? And yes, the sun has a favoritism and the sun is racist. Yeah? So don't let nobody try and make you think that your race is not relevant, because that's what they're trying to do now. They're trying to make us feel like we can't speak about race or be proud about race. We have to include everyone. White people, Asian people, fuck that. Nobody included us for 400 years. So there's a part of me that deals with self-preservation where I'm speaking for me and my people, man. And I'm not talking about all black people either. I'm talking about the people that look like me, that vibrate on the same frequency as me, which means the same consciousness. A lot of the time, not all the time, sometimes I will include all people, but I'm not going to feel bad for having times where it's like, yo, there's no one else invited. No one ever invited us for 400 years. We was on ourselves. So I'm happy sometimes to just speak to my people, even if it's only 2-3 people tuning. I don't care about none of that, because I know if you take this message in the right way, you're going to go on to inspire 2-3 more other people. and then they're going to go in to inspire 1, 2, or whatever more people. So it's just ongoing. Do you understand? Without the ego attached to it. Yeah? Don't stick yourself in one book. Study all of them. Study everything, because all of that shit's relevant. Even if you're back in your Kemetian, Egyptian stuff, and I know it's beautiful, and it makes you just don't want to even look at religion and shit no more. But don't become stuck in Egypt. Do you understand? Still give time to learning certain things that went on in and around Christianity, and that went on in and around Judaism, and that went on in and around the Indus Valley, and start linking things together. And if you need help, come and ask me a question, whether you're in my group, whether you're in the Telegram group, whether it's on here, you want to slap it on the thread or something. Do you understand? But do your research, man, and I'm happy to help you find your truth. Yeah, because our greatest books are written in stone, yeah, or written into eternity, yeah, with the Fibonacci twins, yeah, art, music, which are like frozen symphonies in stone. Namaste.